Hi all. So today I'm gonna play against a friend of mine. Just recently met him. His name starts with an X, but I can't really pronounce it. And what he's gonna do is record the game and his thoughts during the game, and I'm also gonna record during mine. The game starts at 5 o'clock, and right now it is 4:48. So we have about 10 minutes before the game should start, and this should be fun. It'll be a good learning experience. We'll be able to hear each other's thoughts and reflect and have a lot of fun. Okay, so since there's about 10 minutes to go here, I'm going to play a little bit of bullet chess, um, which really isn't that smart before a long time control game, but why not? Let's go for it. I've posted a seek on chess.com, and I'm waiting. Here we go. Okay, I'm tired of e4 in fast chess. Seems like people just know what to do against everything that could happen. Um, so this seems to be a better way to play blitz chess. Let me. He is threatening a fork. All right, let me just stop the fork. Okay. Oh. Oh, did I just lose a pawn? Oh man. Oh jeez. I mean, I can't take the bishop. I just thought, well, if he takes, then the e-file's opened up. Let's see what happens. Threatening the queen now. But I can't do it. Oh, this sucks already. Okay. Oh, now I just lost the queen. Wow. All right. This is really good job, Truxton. Oh man. Okay. Losing queens, losing pawns. All right. Well, let's see what happens. All right. 1 minute chess. I'm allowed to lose things. Okay. That's why I got rid of that pre-move. I guess it's okay. It's threatening things. Already threatening stuff. Who is this guy? Okay. Yeah. This queen seems to be awkwardly placed out here. C5? Okay. He's allowing me to do some things. Alright, I'll trade that. He just let me take... I guess I'll just trade queens. Oh, is my rook misplaced out here? Hopefully not. $25, so I gotta hurry up here. Let me get looked for my king before anything happens. Anything bad happens to my king. What? Okay. I will... Oh, okay, I see. I guess this is alright. Wants to play here? Alright, we'll trade one pair of rooks. It's a draw or something? Guess not. Yeah, let me attack that rook. Check. He's checking me. Where's he gonna go? Trade? Okay, so I'm not so sure if that was good for me. Good game. Alright, 7 minutes till the game. Alright, I'm gonna beat this guy. He just, like, slaughtered me twice. Last time he gave this check. Yeah, let me attack that bishop. I'm not certain what happened last time, but I know whatever... Oh, this is what happened. Alright, fine. I'd like to maybe push the f-pawn, so keep the rook on the f-file. Okay. He's pinning my knight. He can plop his knight in here. I'll just take it, I guess. Bullet chest, so... Okay. I don't know what's happening. Oh, he forked me. No, he didn't. Okay. Alright. Down a pawn, but... Oh, that pawn's going to be strong. Oh, that's a check. Alright. You get a queen? I'm threatening mate. Okay. So he's going to have to give some things back if he gets a queen here. Let's check. That's annoying. Let's check again. It's a draw. Oh, he's threatening mate now? Alright, let me stop that. Can check again. Alright, so now he's got to give up his queen. Oh, he doesn't. Gosh, he can go there. That was good. Well played. Well played, senor. Alright, try this guy again. He's beaten me 3 times in a row. Alright. What did he do last time? I don't know. Let me push the c-pawn. Probably shouldn't do that. Okay. He wants to take my knight? He wants to... What? Okay. Good. It's interesting. I'm just gonna castle. Guess let me get some central control. Get a grip on these light squares. I've really created a bad light squared bishop, but maybe it's useful out here. Attack this pawn. Develop. Alright, I'm gonna put a grip on this c-pawn. I like how I've blunted his bishop. Oh, okay. Well, alright. Now I'd like to get to the light squares. Yeah, I don't want to trade. Why would I trade? Okay. Get the rook up there. No, I don't want to trade. He can force the trade if I play stupid. He can also... Okay, he's threatening things. Alright, I'll trade. Check. Who's trying to trade things? Alright, let me get a pawn up here. Okay, threatening a checkmate. He's got to stop it. Actually, I don't know if he can. Oh, he did. Okay, is this mate? I don't know if this is mate. It's not mate. Oh, boy. Alright. I'll go here. I only have 3 seconds, so looks like he's outplayed me again. Oh, brother, how he's got me. Good game. Wow, this guy's kicking my butt. N-Ragnot. Oh, he left. He said, I'm done with you. Alright, fine. 3 minutes until the game. I'll play some more. Well, got my butt kicked. If this is any representation of the upcoming standard game, then I'm in trouble. Alright. This is just bullet chess. I really don't care. Okay. I really don't want to take it with the queen. I can play c5. And this is a pawn sacrifice? He didn't do it. Let me sack it anyway. Sacrifices are cool. Okay, I don't have... okay, doubled pawns. Doubled pawns. Nope, doesn't want the doubled pawns. Let me pin that. No, I don't move the same piece twice. Alright. Get developed. I just created a pin. Knight g4. Okay, that made sense. Let me attack the queen. Okay, I'll take it. Alright, let's play. Oh, hey, that was the same guy. And Reganot. Finally got him. I didn't even know it was him. Alright. Here's a guy. Asu. Oh, look, Xnaicixcision is on. Alright, so I'll play this game and then I'll play him. His name is Xnaicixcision. This kind of looks like the word decision. You'll see when he pops up. That's interesting. Alright. So what are we going to play? The Sicilian? I'll play the sort of mixture between the dragon and the Najdorf. People seem to get confused by it. I want to play this pawn to h5. Stop him from playing g4, or at least discourage it. Make him sacrifice a pawn. He'll probably do it. No, wait a minute. What's going on? Alright. Still want to sacrifice this pawn. Do I trade the bishops, or do I put my... I like my knight out here. Is he going to take it? What's he going to do? Move his dark squared bishop? Oh, he took it. Okay. So now I've got a nice blockade, seemingly, on h-pawn. Can't really go forward, but yeah, he's got this trade now. Okay. Is he hanging a piece here? No, he's not. Okay. Let's see what he tries. I think I'll take it with the queen. Okay, that made sense. That was annoying. I can't take it. Do I just defend it? I can't take it. Then it's mate. Oh, brother. Alright, sacrifice the exchange. It's the way to go. Get out of this pin. And you can check. Wait a minute, this is bad. It's all bad now. These pieces are coming out. Oh, you can take this bishop. That's a free bishop. Oh, jeez. Alright, let me just threaten cheapo. Maybe he'll fall for it. He can trade queens if he wants to. Knight takes pawn check, trades queens. Does give me material back, though. Ah, he saw it. What a jerk. That knight can't really move, so I'll attack it. Alright, let's see what he does. If the knight moves... Oh, the knight can go there and it defends the queen. Gosh, this guy is a jerk. What? Okay, that was a good move. Alright, good move. Game over. Alright, let me chat with this guy. I don't know what time control he wants to play. I requested a chat with him. Maybe he sent me a message. Okay, there he is. Okay. You guys can't see the chat, but it's there, I promise. Asking him what time control he wants. .40-10, he says. Okay, sure. That's pretty fast, but okay, why not? Yeah, 40-10 is really fast. Sure. Alright, I'll challenge him right now. Alright, let's go. Okay, here we go. I am not rated because I've never played any standard chess on here. So, let's see what happens. He said good luck. That's nice. Thanks. Okay, knight on f3. So, he's developing kingside piece. Lately I've been responding with c5, transposing into some Sicilian defenses. I've never played this guy before, so I really don't know how he plays. And I don't want to get some sort of defensive passive position. So I want to put a pawn in the center. It's either going to be c5 or d5. Alright, let's play c5. See what he likes to do. It takes a little bit of time to play like c5 on the first move because I'm not developing any kingside pieces, but it is stopping him from putting a pawn on d4 permanently. Well, depends on what he does with his e and his c pawn, but general idea is to get the semi-open c file and trade the c pawn for his d pawn. g6. Okay, so he wants to fianchetto his light squared bishop. So I really don't know yet what he's doing with his e-pawn. But his bishop is going to come out there on the long diagonal, that's for sure. He's getting castled on the king side really, really fast. So I think I'm going to keep up with that. And I'm going to put my knight on f6 here. And I want to get behind in development. So the question is, what do I do with my dark squared bishop? I'm either going to fianchetto it like he did, or I'm going to play e6 and d5 setup. If I play e6 and d5 setup, my dark squared bishop might come out to d6, but it is kind of blunted by this g3 pawn. So maybe I might want to fianchetto it with g6, kind of like he's doing. Let it have influence over the long diagonal. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So we could transpose into some symmetrical English positions. If he plays c4, castle. Okay, bishop g7. I'm wondering what he's doing with his center pawns. If he plays e4 now, I'll just take it. Okay, so he wants to put a pawn on e4 maybe. He's getting his dark squared bishop developed out on the diagonal. d2 is now available for a knight if he doesn't want to go to c3. He hasn't told me what he's doing with his c-pawn yet. Okay, I'm just going to castle. See what he does. He can play e4 now. He's kind of blunts in his bishop back there, but it is a good central pawn. Maybe he can move the knight and play f4, go for a kingside attack. Let's see what he does. If he wants to try to play on the king side, I'll consider facing a kingside attack and playing on the queen side maybe. Or I'll just try to play in the center and counter any kingside attack with pressure in the center. So I guess he doesn't want to trade his d-pawn for my c-pawn. That's why I put his pawn on d3. Potentially his dark squared bishop is his best bishop because his center pawns might be on light squares. I can't get behind in development, that's for certain. I need to get my pieces out. I really don't know yet what's going on. His light squared bishop might be a real nuisance. Since the c-pawn went to c5, I can't blunt it ever with a pawn on c6. If I trade my light squared bishop for his light squared bishop, then I might end up with a sort of effective but bad dark squared bishop, where my center pawns are on dark squares. I'm thinking maybe my d-pawn is going to go to d6. So I'm not certain if I want to trade my light squared bishop for his. Knight bd2. He's staying flexible here. So how do I develop my pieces? If I put my knight on c6, it sort of blocks that diagonal and it lets me develop my light squared bishop somewhere easier. Maybe I can move my rook to b8 and coordinate somehow on the b2 square with my bishop and my rook. Alright, I'm going to play knight c6. I don't see any checks, captures, or threats that beat that move. The opening is almost complete. It's almost move 7, move 8. Right now it's move 7 on his move. We still have to develop the bishop. Well, my light squared bishop needs to get developed. So an option is to just play b6 and bishop b7, trying to neutralize that light squared bishop in that long diagonal. But it might not be so much of a problem if he puts his pawn on e4. So I'm not certain if I want to do that. I can always develop fairly easily with d6 and bishop d7. If he pushes the e-pawn, I can consider trading my light squared bishop for his kingside knight, but if I ever take there, then he replaces it with a knight. Okay, he put his pawn on c6, so he's trying to blunt my diagonal, limit my play. But what that does, though, is it may allow me a nice long-term plan of rook b8, b5, and b4. Yeah, does he want to play d4 with that move? I don't know. He would spend 2 moves to play d3 and d4. It seems kind of silly. Loses a tempo. I'm just going to play d6 and see what he does. It gives a diagonal for my light squared bishop so that I could develop it. Then I can develop my heavy pieces. I can put the rook on b8, play maybe b5, b4, open that up. His queen can come out now. There it goes to c7. If he ever plays d4 now, the queen might be a little bit embarrassed on my semi-open c-file if I capture on d4. Playing a little cat and mouse game here. Okay, I'm going to play, just feeling each other out. Alright, I'm going to play bishop d7 because that develops a piece, allows possible rook to go to the c-file, and now I feel comfortable, a little bit more comfortable. Okay, so he did put his pawn on e4, and he moved his queen to c2 before playing e4. I wonder if he did that just to avoid a bishop g4 pin. Maybe he didn't want to answer bishop g4 with h3, which would weaken his structure a little bit. So first he played queen c2 and then e4. It's an interesting move order. I'll tell you what I'm going to do here is I'm going to develop my queen somewhere. I want it to exert influence in the center somehow. So squares that come to mind are b6 and c7. If I put the queen on b6, it blocks the b-pawn, and I don't think I really want to do that. So maybe a move that comes to mind here is b5. It does open that diagonal a little bit, and there might be some tactics I'd have to look out for. I'm not really trying to calculate things like that right now. So I'm just going to play move queen c7. He can play bishop f. His knight's blocking it, so I wonder where his knight's going to go. His knight on d2. Is it going to go to c4? I can always kick it with b5 if he does that. Alright, queen c7. So I'm thinking of playing rook b8 and b5, and then b4. Maybe the rook that's on the f file can move over to the c file or the d file. It does weaken f7 if I do that. So what's he going to do with his dark squared bishop? He needs to get developed. He needs to somehow do something with that bishop, so it implies that maybe he's going to move his d2 knight somewhere. Maybe, yeah, what's he going to do with it? I mean, he's not, maybe, I have a hard time believing that he's going to push his b-pawn and play bishop b2 after him playing c3, so I don't think that's going to happen. The queens are lined up on the c file, so I have to watch out for tactics, and my queen's undefended. So if my c pawn ever gets traded for a b pawn or a d pawn, and then his c pawn recaptures, then it's an open c file. Maybe he's going to play rook e1 with the idea of playing knight f1 and then into e3, where the knight exerts influence in the center on d5. And it can hop over to g4 or over to my king side. It's an idea. It weakens f7 if he plays rook e1, but it does let him develop. So rook e1, I'm not convinced that he's threatening to play e5 if he does that. Got a lot of pressure on the dark squares. So rook e1, rook b8, knight, well, yeah, knight f1, b5, bishop g5, maybe? I'm not certain what he's got to tell me what he's going to do here. I mean, he's got to get his dark squared bishop developed somewhere. Should it go to e3? Should it go to d2? Should it go to g5? Should it go to f4? Where should his bishop go? Should he try to trade his dark squared bishop for my dark squared bishop? If he trades his dark squared bishop for my dark squared bishop, what's left over is light squared bishops. And his pawns are on light colored squares, so I think, but the pawns are good pawns. I think that would be okay for me, although it does sort of weaken my king side if I allow that trade, because my dark squares are weak. Oh, what's he doing? He's playing on the queen side. He's waiting. He's playing a4, so he doesn't want me to play b5 and b4. Okay. Does he want to get his pawn to a5 and sack that pawn? That's interesting, but I don't think so. I mean, I can play a6 and b5. Maybe he wants to clamp down with c4. Opens up that diagonal a little bit, and b4 would be weak. If he puts his pawn on c4, b4 is weak. He's indicating that maybe he wants to somehow get a semi-open A file where his rook is already there. If I play a6 and b5 and he plays ab and I play ab, rook takes a, rook takes a, rook takes rook. I get left over with a rook on the a file, but a pair of rooks came off. That means that tactics are going to be a little less confusing, closer to a draw if a pair of rooks come off. So I'm wondering if I should do that or not. Oh, maybe he wants to play knight c4 now. That's what he wants to do. That's why he played a4. To control b5. He doesn't want me to play b5 with tempo. Maybe I'll do it anyway. I'll play a6. Need to play knight c4. I'll play b5. ab5, ab5, knight e3. And I'll take his rook if he does that. So it would be a6, knight c5, b5, ab5, ab5. He has to move his... Oh, he can take the rook. So a6, knight c4, b5, ab5, ab5. Rook takes rook. Rook takes rook. Knight e3. It's interesting. threatening to hop into d5. I've got a rook on the a file, and I'm threatening to play b4 and open up the position a little bit. But when his knight comes into d5, it hits my knight and my queen, so that's forcing me to do things. So if b4, knight d5, knight takes d5, pawn takes d5, that pawn, he's got double d pawns. My knight has to move, I think. My knight can go to e5, but what's it doing out there? It's interesting. Okay, he doesn't have to play knight c4 though, after a6. But what else is he going to do? Are there any other candidate moves? My clock is getting low. I gotta decide what to do. I don't particularly like so much playing moving the b-pawn with my rook on this light square diagonal, but his pawn is on e4, and maybe my rook isn't really going to be in trouble. So if a6, knight c4, b5, ab5, rook takes rook, rook takes rook, knight e3. If I want to, I can move the rook then, but he is threatening this move, knight d5. That's a thing. It might stop me from playing b4. Maybe b4 isn't the right response because he's threatening knight d5. Maybe I have to play, like, move the queen somewhere. Or, and when he goes to knight to d5, I think if I take on d5 with my knight and he plays e takes d5, then the e4 square is available for his knight. The central pawn on d5 is cramping me, but it is a doubled pawn. It's fairly easily defended by c-pawn. I'm not certain if I want to trade after he plays knight d5, so maybe after a6, knight c4, b5, ab, knight, or rook takes rook, knight e3. Maybe I'll play a queen move. Maybe I'll play queen a5. Gangs up on the a file, plays on the queen side. If he plays knight d5, maybe I'll just answer with rook e8, defending the e7 square. That looks okay. Is there anything else? Am I missing something? A6, if he plays something crazy like b4, cb4, cb4, the knight can't take on b4 because the queen is pinned, but a6, b4 seems insane. cb4, cb4, and he's got okay, so he doesn't he has advanced pawns on the queen side. His rook is undefended though. I'm not convinced that that's anything good for him. If a6, b4, ab4, cb4, he wants to play b5 and attack the knight that can't move because of the pin. So if a6, b4, I can't believe I'm calculating this, a6, b4, cb4, cb4, do I have to, like, move my queen or something? Or play rook f to, or maybe I should play rook a to c8 in that case. Huh. There's got to be something wrong with b4 immediately. Yeah, I'll just move the queen, I think. Put more pressure on b4 square. Alright, a6. So after knight c4, b5, he can't play a5 because I'll just take his knight. That's the idea. Spent a good chunk of my clock on that last move, so I hope he plays knight c4. He doesn't have to play knight c4 though. There's other things he could probably do, but he should. Whatever it is, it's got to be a developing idea. Okay, so I've spent 10 minutes on the first 10 moves. In a 40-minute game, that's a little bit too slow, because I'm going to need more time in the middle game and especially the end game. So I'm going to hopefully speed up in my next 10 moves. Maybe be at move 20 with about 25 minutes left. We'll see. Tactics might get a little crazy here though. Now he still has the option to put a pawn on d4, but he's really not fully developed yet, so I have a hard time believing that he's going to try to open up the position a little bit when he's not exactly developed. However, there are tactics where my knight really can't move to exploit that kind of thing so easily, the c6 knight. If something like d4 here, cd4, cd4, you could also take with the knight there. That's interesting. Okay, his e4 square is a little weaker, but it still can be defended with an f-pawn. I can't really attack it so easily. Does he want to play d4? Strike in the center and stop me from playing b5? What's his idea with d4? It's to play d5, maybe? To force an exchange? Only thing is he's not developed yet, so I don't see a need to try to do that yet. I mean, I could just play a move like queen b6. So if d4, cd4, cd4, queen b6, and pressuring the d4 square. If I move like bishop e3, I have knight g4, so I mean, he's got to play like knight c4 here, I think. Hobble over to e3, or rook e1 and knight f1. Or knight b3, I guess, but I don't know, blocking the b pawn. Knight b3, I guess, is playable. He can answer b5 with a5, I think, unless it's tactically unsound. Knight b3, b5, a5. If I play c4, I'm attacking the knight, and if the knight moves, maybe I can take on a5, win a pawn. Knight b3, b5, a5. The reason why I'm looking at that is that that pawn on a5 could be really annoying and strong, especially if I lose my a-pawn, then that a-pawn could be a passer. Knight b3, a5, I'm sorry, knight b3, b5, a5, c4. If c takes, I'm sorry, if d takes c4, b takes c4, I'm attacking the knight, it must move. Knight d4. Knight takes a5. Rook takes knight, queen takes rook. I don't see any tactics there. But my rook is exposed. Maybe he has e5 there. His knight is still on f3 though, blocking in his bishop, which means that he'll have to give up a pawn. Or maybe not. Okay, so that's complicated. Knight b3. b5, a5, c4. c4 isn't really what I wanted to do with the position, just to win a pawn. I really wanted to play b4, open up the dark diagonal, mess with his queenside structure. That was my plan. Okay, so he played knight c4. Okay. So b5 is my move. Rooks are going to come off. Okay. We'll go into that line that I talked about before. b5, ab5, e5, rook takes rook, knight e3, queen a5, knight d5, rook e8. Alright, something like that. I don't want to spend, I want to sort of speed up on the clock here. I'm taking too much time. I don't want to be left with a low clock, so 40-10 is a really fast game for a slow time control game. You know, preferably I'd like to have like 90 minutes or like 60 minutes in the first 40 moves and then another 40 minutes for the rest of the game or something like that. But just 40 minutes for the whole game is pretty fast, so it's good though because the video file size won't be so large, and this file may end up becoming exceeded. I'm not certain how large the files can become. I can't remember. Okay, so this is a critical moment. He's spending a lot of time. I was planning on moving my queen in response to knight e3 after all that happens, because I didn't want to be forced into taking his knight on d5 and transferring that pawn to e5, because I'm not certain if giving him the e4 square to plop a knight on would be good or bad for me, and I'm not certain if his double d pawns are strong or weak. The d5 pawn, once it goes there, would really clamp down on my e pawn, and I'm not certain how I would attack it. So basically I'm just moving the queen on the a file so that if he plays knight d5 I can answer with rook e8, and then he can't take on e7 with check. And if he takes my knight, we'll allow it, because then I'll just recapture with the bishop. I like how he moved his queenside knight so that he could develop his dark squared bishop. I think that was the right play. And now it's just a matter of where does he put his knight. If he puts, there he goes. He just moved it immediately. He didn't play a takes b5. That's smart. It's very smart. Because he doesn't want to give me all this play on the queen side. I can still play queen a5 because the rook's undefended, but you can just play bishop to d2, and then he's threatening things again. Like I said here, I don't really want to get hit with a knight d5 and have to take it, and I really don't want to give him tempos, but it looks like he's going to get a tempo no matter what, unless I put my pawn on e6 and stop him from playing knight d5. I'm not certain if him playing knight d5 is a big enough threat to play a move like pawn to e6. Pawn to e6 is a very committal move, and it weakens a lot of squares on my king side, so it's a tough move to play. I think I want to get my queen off the c file. Just now it's like, where do I put it? I'm thinking maybe queen a5, and if he plays bishop d2, well, he could play a couple things. If queen a5, he could play bishop d2, he can play knight d5, he can play a takes, well, if he plays a takes b5, play queen takes rook. I don't, queen a5, a takes b5, queen takes rook, he can take my knight. That's interesting. Knight and a pawn for the rook. And is my queen embarrassed out there? Okay, I don't want to spend 10 million years here. I've really got to not spend 10 million years in this position. And I don't want to get tempoed. But yeah, this is a tough one. I still want to go with my plan of putting a pawn on b4. What's wrong with queen b6? Well, queen b6, he still tempos me with my knight d5. Now, if I just move my light-squared bishop, my queen can defend the e7 square laterally, and then I don't have to move my f-rook. So I wonder if bishop e6 is a good move. Undefends my knight a little bit, and it weakens b5 a little bit. Not certain if I want to do that. I'm really not certain if I want to weaken f7 though, by playing rook f8. I mean, knight g5 and queen b3, and he's coordinating there. Maybe pawn to e6 is the right move, just stopping knight d5 forever, and asking him what is he going to do. It's a committal move, but maybe it's necessary. He's giving me too many troubles and I'm low on time. Okay, e6. Just stop knight d5. Does weaken a lot of squares, like I said before, though. But, you know, I'm kind of running low on the clock here, so just make the move and hope for no repercussions. Okay, so now maybe I can maybe try to get b5 or b4 in, but I gotta watch out for. Well, I guess if he takes on b4, I could take with the knight, attack his queen, and my c pawn wouldn't move, so there's really no problem. I wonder if he's going to take on b5 now. He still can't play a5. Just knight takes a5, so what just happened in the last 3-4 minutes, I think, was he didn't play a takes b5 like I thought he would. He just moved his knight. So that led me to trying to figure out if knight d5 is a threat, and I couldn't come to any reasonable conclusion as to how to handle it if he played it. So I made a committal move, pawn to e6, and that weakens the f6 square and the d6 square. But it stops him from playing knight d5 and asks him what he's doing, and when you're low on time and pretty practical sort of move in a fast time control game, and it's justified because in order to really figure out if knight d5 is a problem, I think I would have needed another 5 minutes probably, and I'm not willing to sacrifice that 5 minutes. There's more critical moments that are gonna happen later in the game that I would really like to spend that time on. Rook d1. That indicates that maybe he wants to push d4. It's interesting. Weakens b4 though. If I play c4, b4 is weak, and it voluntarily opens up the dark square bishop diagonal, seemingly. Huh. Maybe I should just play b4 here. Am I developed enough to make a break like that? Maybe now I can move my f-rook, because f7 is harder to get to. But then, of course, I lose a tempo after AB, rook takes rook. So I don't want to lose a tempo. I don't really want to give him the A file, so he's really being stubborn here. F2 is a little weaker now that he moved his rook. Maybe I should try and put more pressure on the dark squares. Play a move like knight E8. If knight E8, D4, CD4, CD4. I can't take on D4, and the knight's pinned. Maybe I should just play rook AC8. I don't want to do that. I want to play... Maybe I'll just give him the A file and play for B4. Play rook AB8, but... he wants to make sure that my knight can't move after trading the D pawn for the C pawn. He's liking this pin. It's interesting. Maybe I should play rook A7. And then I can move my F rook and there's no I don't lose a tempo and my queen's defended. And then if he plays AB5, AB5, then rook takes rook, I play queen takes rook. Maybe that's good. Alright, I'm going to go for that. Rook A7, D5, D4, CD4, CD4. I can consider knight G4. I can consider knight B5, trading queens. There's actually a lot of moves I could consider there. Rook C7, rook A7. Also, it gets the rook out of potential light squared bishop diagonal problems with E5. Alright, rook A7. That's my move. I took too much time on that. I'm trying to at least keep up with his clock. Rook A7. Alright. If his bishop goes to E3, that could be a problem, but it seems like his knight's there momentarily. At least now my queen's defended. If he plays D4, then there's no pin with the C6 knight. I did lose a tempo, kind of, though, because now he plays AB5, AB5, rook takes rook, queen takes rook. It's kind of like... But it's different, though, because my F rook didn't have to retake. My queen went to the A file. It's off the C file. My queen would be on the same diagonal that his king is on. Could be problems with the knight, with something going on. Okay, so that's interesting. I don't know, maybe I just lost a tempo there, but maybe not. I'm really not certain. You still can't play A5, so knight takes A5. Rook A7. Alright. Does he really want to play D4? D4... I mean, he could play bishop D2 and wait. D4 opens the position a little bit. D4, C takes D4, C takes D4. I could trade queens, I guess, if with knight B4 maybe. And the B4 square is pretty good. D4, C takes D4, C takes D4. In that position, he has a pawn on D4 and E4. I have pawns on D6 and E6. He has pawns on C3 and B3 and A4. No, he doesn't have a pawn on C3 anymore. He has pawns on B2 and A4. I have pawns on A6 and B5. he is maybe planning to push one of the center pawns with e5 or d5. If he pushes with e5, I can take on e5, and if he retakes on e5, it seems very weak there. And there isn't really any tactics on my a8 rook because it's not there anymore. So maybe he wants to push with d5 instead. If he pushes with d5, that's more interesting. I can choose to close. Well, he's hitting my knight at the same time, but again, it's my move after c takes d4, and I can deal with it. And I'm trying to figure out if d5 is a problem. If he plays d5, I can respond with knight b4, but maybe the d6 square is weak after the queen trade. So if d4, c takes d4, c takes d4, it's my move. Maybe I need to think about whether or not d5 is a problem. If he plays d5, what is he doing? He's planning to open up his d file to have his rook in, so his rook has influence. He wants me to move my knight and encourage a queen trade. There he goes. Okay, so if c takes d4, c takes d4. C takes d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, queen takes queen, knight takes queen. I lose a piece. C takes d4, c takes d4. It's my move. If I play just a move like rook c8, if he plays d5, then my knight has to move. Or I have to take on d5. Either way, I don't like it. Probably should have looked at this before playing e6. I'm not certain if I could have. Maybe I'll just trade queens right now. C takes d4, c takes d4, knight b4, queen takes queen, rook takes queen. Now d5 doesn't come with a tempo. I can choose to play e5 as a response. Both of our bishops are blocked out in that sort of situation. And now after he plays a takes b5, his rook is justified on the a file. I wonder if I should play b4 here. It allows him to play c4, seemingly. Knight takes c4, knight takes knight, pawn takes, attacking the knight. It gets hairy. Well, I think I do have to play c takes d4 here because d5 is seemingly more annoying without being able to play knight b4, I think. Maybe I'm attacking that e4 pawn after the queen trade. Of course, the queen trade doesn't have to happen. C takes d5, c takes d5, knight b4. He can just move his queen to b3. Move the queen to b3. He can move it to d2. He can move it to e2 or b1. But then it's my move. Maybe he should probably get a tempo with his queen move and attack my knight. So if c takes d4, he could also take with his knight, but is that good? It's interesting. C takes d4, c takes d4. C takes d4, c takes d4. I wonder if b4 just isn't the right square. Maybe I should go to e7. Put some more pressure on d5, but It's interesting. Where should my knight go? It doesn't seem misplaced on b4 because that's an outpost square, but it's not permanent. I mean, it's not like I can really support it with a pawn so easily without... Wait a minute. It's really an annoying knight, though, out there on b4. I'm not sure how good it is on e7. Maybe it should go to b8. Nah. Maybe it doesn't have to go anywhere. C takes d4, C takes d4. Alright, well, I'm just going to play that move, because maybe I should play c4 here, actually. Right, but I want to open up the dark squares. Alright. C takes d4. Take that pawn. It took too long on that move, I think. "18 minutes in the first 14 moves. It's way too long. Now I have 18 minutes to play the rest of this game. 50% of my clock in the first 14 moves. Real smart, Truxton. Good job. Alright. How do I play on the queen side here? Should I be playing b4 like with a pawn or something? Oh, you took with the knight. See, that's the only thing I didn't look at. Dang it. Oh, man. Alright, I'm gonna take it. Oh, man. Things are coming off, I think. Alright, I'll take it. I didn't even look at this. This is, like, ridiculous. Alright. I've unloaded the diagonal, so that's a good thing. I wonder if he's going to take with the rook or the c-pawn. If he takes with the c-pawn, I can trade queens. If he takes with the rook, I wonder if I should play knight g4 there. Attack the rook and get some more trades. I think going to the endgame is okay for me here. I didn't give him the bishop pair. Maybe he has slightly more space, but it's not clear that that's going to lead to anything concrete. I guess he should take with the c-pawn. I'm thinking about answering his d5 move with e5. That's what I'm thinking about doing. It does block my dark squared bishop in, though. How could I get it out there? Maybe bishop f8, bishop e7, bishop d8, and bishop d6. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4 moves to get a bishop developed. Oh, he took with the rook. Wow, what is going on? Knight g4. Knight g4. Does he want to sacrifice the exchange? Knight g4, knight takes knight. Bishop takes rook. Knight h6 check. King h8. Maybe he's got some compensation there. Well, but then he's not able to take my dark squared bishop because of the pin. The reason why I'm thinking about playing knight g4 is maybe I should trade off the other knights. Go closer to pure bishop endgame, or bishop middle game. Are there any other options here? Yeah, I'm thinking knight g4 here. Knight g4, if knight takes knight, bishop takes rook, I'll take the exchange. If he plays bishop h6, I'll try bishop g7. knight f6 check, I'll take the knight. And if bishop takes rook, just give him the exchange back. Probably. Knight g4, if he moves his rook, I'm taking his knight. But then he develops his bishop with tempo. Hits my rook. That's annoying. Okay, so maybe if knight g4, rook. Where is he going to put his rook? Rook d3? No, rook d1. Maybe I'll play knight e5. And the idea is to go to c4. Alright, let's go for it. Starting to get crazy. Alright, 16 minutes. I've kept up with his clock. It's not really a good thing, though, because he hasn't done so good with his clock either. Alright, knight g4. If he takes it, I'm taking the rook. It might get a little crazy. Oh, he just moved it. Alright, so I don't think I want to exchange, but I think I'm gonna... Okay, so one problem I just now saw is if knight e5, a takes b5, a takes b5, rook takes rook, queen takes rook, then d6 pawn hangs. So maybe I'll just take it with the bishop, put more pressure on c4 maybe. If he does that, knight e5. Maybe I do have to take here and just play. Do I have knight takes f2 or h2? No. Maybe knight e5, ab5. I really wanted to play ab5 there. Rook takes rook, queen takes rook, rook takes d6. Yeah, I don't want to hang the d pawn though. So this is interesting. I mean, I can just play knight f6 and go back, I guess, or I can take, but I don't really. I can take, but it develops his bishop. I don't really want to do that. So knight e5, ab5, bishop takes b5. Does get my bishop out there. Alright, I'm going to go for that. Running out of time. Oh no, look, he's got a minute extra on me. I wonder how long I spent on that move. Alright. So if ab5, I'm just going to take it with the bishop. I'm controlling these, like harassing these squares. If he plays something like f4, I'm just going to try knight c4, I think. I don't have to play knight c4 though. If he plays f4, f4. Well, maybe I should though. f4, knight c4, b3. I guess that could be annoying. Then I'll just take it, I guess. Oh, he did do this. Wow. Surprising. Huh. I guess he wants to trade knights. That's what he wants to do. Knight takes knight, queen takes knight, then he takes on d6 maybe? But then he loses his rook. Queen c6 check. So, this looks safe. Alright, knight c4. He needs to be careful here. He can't just gobble away on d6 after he's played f4 like this. Knight takes knight, queen takes knight. Then there's a check if he does it. Okay. Rook takes d6, check. If he blocks, then I'll take it with check. Alright, so let's see what he does. And again, if ab5, I'll just play bishop takes b5. Or queen takes b5 at this point. One or the other. Maybe he should play bishop e3, and that stops the shenanigans and threatens the d6 square. Bishop e3. Oh, he took on b5. Allows me to check. Gave me a check. I kind of like it because then he can't play bishop e3. Well, maybe he can, but it'll be late. It'll be harder. It's interesting. I'm gonna take it with the bishop. Yeah, just take it with the bishop. Develops the bishop out, gets it annoying, and he still can't take on d6. And if bishop e3, then rook d7 or something. Or rook d8, just defend the d-pawn. Maybe rook d8 because... Okay, so I don't really have plans anymore of playing b4. That's the drawback of not checking and playing a takes b5 if rook takes rook, queen takes. Then he could have played rook takes d6, so... Of course he would have had to move his king somewhere. Maybe he can play bishop f1 here. Okay, bishop e3, hitting the rook. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and defend my d6 pawn, I think. Yeah, I'm going to defend the d6 pawn now. Alright, so he has a semi-open D file. I have two semi-open files, the C and the B file. He has a semi-open A file. So he has a semi-open D file and a semi-open A file, and I have two semi-open C and B files. I'm really pressuring. If I can win the B2 pawn, I think that would be good. This is a pure bishop situation. I should probably... If I lose my d6 pawn somehow, it gives him a passed c pawn. If I trade my d pawn for his e pawn, it gives him a passed c pawn, but maybe he should play bishop f1 and trade the light squared bishops off. That's what I'm thinking maybe he should do. Why was I thinking that? Well, I guess it doesn't do a whole lot for him. I'm wondering how I should respond if he plays e5, because I was just thinking if my d-pawn takes the e-pawn, I wonder if I'm winning a pawn there. Maybe not, because maybe he can take the a-pawn. If e5, d takes e5, rook takes rook, bishop takes rook, bishop e1, and the queen's got to move. Try queen c7. Then he can take on a6, and then I can take on f4. So he would get two passed pawns. I'm not certain if they're any good for him, though. Especially if I'm taking on f4, and he can't really... Well, yeah, I mean, he can take on f4 with a pawn or the bishop. So I don't really like that particularly. Maybe I should answer with d5. Thinking maybe that's what I should do if he plays e5. e5, d5, I'm thinking. So my pawns would go to light squares. He's really blunted in my dark squared bishop, but I've sort of blunted in his light squared bishop, but he could always trade it off easily with bishop f1 in this position. So if e5, d5, bishop f1, queen c6, bishop takes bishop, pawn takes bishop, or not, probably queen takes. I don't know if I want to open up that a file. Queen takes bishop. Makes it easier for him to do things on the queen side, but it doesn't come without risk. I can move my f-rook. I could always also maybe break with f6 and open up that bishop if I need to. It's not ideal though because it weakens my kingside structure pretty badly. I wonder if taking on e5 is actually required in this position if he plays d5. That's what I'm wondering, but then again, like I said, it does give him potential to get past pawns. So I think I am going to play d5 if he plays e5. I think I am going to do that. He needs to be very careful about his clock. He doesn't want to get into time pressure, but he does recognize that this is a critical moment, and I'm sure he's gone farther into it than I have, probably. I wonder what he's going to play. Is he going to play f5? It's madness. f5. I guess it's playable. I don't know what it's good for, though, other than weakening his position, I think. I mean, he could play like... He can't really play like b3 so easily because if queen takes c3. So he's got to deal with that first. Before he does anything on the queen side, he's got to stop this. Maybe he is going to play bishop f1. Trade them off and then play e5. Kind of makes some sense, I think. Because it shuts down my dark squared bishop, and his bishop can become active. Maybe I can go to d6. Maybe if he does that, maybe I should just take on e5. Play that sort of imbalanced situation. Bishop f1, my queen should move somewhere. Otherwise, he'll take it. So bishop f1, queen c6, bishop takes bishop, pawn takes bishop. I guess I'll take with the pawn. Give him the a file. I don't want to lose so many. I don't want to move my queen so many times. And if he plays rook a7, maybe I'll just take it with my rook. Take it with the pawn. So if... This is tough. If bishop f1, queen c6, bishop takes bishop, a takes b5, it's his move. He's not attacking on d6, but he can play d5. But if he does that, he loses a pawn. He might be able to get one back, though. So if bishop f1, queen c6, bishop takes bishop, a takes b5. If he plays e5, I play d takes e5. Then he could play rook takes rook, queen takes rook, and then he takes on a6. Okay, but then I take on f4. He can play bishop takes f4, or he can do an in-between move with rook. No, he can't because he traded the d rooks and his rook's on a6. It all looks crazy to me. Maybe I'll just offer him a draw. I mean, I don't think I'm better in this position, and he is getting low on the clock. I hate to just offer a draw, though. I mean, he's so low on the clock. Oh, he did that. He wants to trade the dark squared bishops. See, I didn't expect that at all. Why does he want to do that? It's interesting. He wants to go to the heavy piece endgame and try to exploit the d6 square. Well, I'm not gonna let him. I'm not gonna take it and let him just tempo my queen like this. I don't think. It's interesting. Oh, maybe now he's threatening to play b3. That's a pretty good move. Time well spent. Okay, so maybe I will take his bishop and let the rook take and then play queen c5. I don't know though, it just seems so committal. Maybe I should play e5 here. Attack that bishop. Weakens d6 square, but is that a big deal? e5, if he takes on e5, I can take back with the pawn. Attacks his bishop, it's got to move. But he does have a b3 in between move. I don't think that's a big deal though. Basic idea is he does have to move it. e5, if he just moves his bishop back to e3, I can take on f4. He can try bishop takes f4. Huh. Yeah, I'm not certain if that's good for me. Well, I would like to try to eliminate my weakness if possible. If he's going to try to go to the heavy piece endgame, I would like to eliminate my weak d6 pawn. So how do I do that? Do I play d5 here? He could answer with e5, or he could take on d5. Or he could do an in-between move, bishop takes g7. If d5, bishop takes g7, king takes g7, e takes d5, e takes d5. Still have a weak d pawn. Am I really worried about that weak d pawn? Just play rook d8. Push it. I don't know if I want to trade these dark squared bishops. That was a good move. Alright, I want to keep a clock advantage here. Maybe I should play f6. f6. Alright, it's interesting. It stops the exchange. Really weakens my kingside structure, though. You could try bishop a3. Might be annoying. f6. I mean, bishop a6 also avoids the exchange, but I don't know if it does that in the best way. You can also play b3. Then where's my queen gonna go? b3 and c4 he can try when my bishop isn't on that diagonal anymore. I think d5 might be the right move, but it's just so hard to make. I'm not really sure about anything right now, to be honest with you. Maybe I Yeah, he wants to double and attack. Alright, so maybe I should play d5. Hunker down. d5, bishop takes... Well, he could take with the pawn first, I guess. So d5, pawn takes, d5, pawn takes, d5. Bishop takes bishop, king takes bishop. He can play b3 there. But I can give a check after the bishops come off. Gain the tempo back. Maybe I'm surviving that position. I hate to think in terms of that, but d5, ed5, ed5. Bishop takes bishop, king takes bishop. b3, queen c5 check. He doesn't have to play b3. He can play some moves like rook d2. He is clearly attacking the pawn on d5. Clearly. If I do that. But he's attacking the pawn on d6 too. And I don't want him to cramp my bishop with an e5. Well, he can do that. If I play d5, he can play e5, but then the d5 pawn isn't weak, and all I have to do is deal with a bad dark squared bishop, move the rook. Maybe that's not good for me. d5, e5. Well, it's not bad. I think I'm thinking way too much into this. I'm just going to play a move. I'm going to play queen c7. And the reason is that I'm pressuring the e5 square. And I want to just take that pawn. If he puts the pawn there, if he trades the bishops, then okay, he traded the bishops. Alright, queen c7. Sometimes that happens. In a chess game, I'll go over, I'll think about a situation, like right there I was thinking about, should I play d5, and the reason why I was thinking it is because I was thinking I'd like to eliminate my weakness if we go into the heavy piece endgame. But, this is a tricky situation, and I'm not convinced that playing d5 is good for me, because then the pawn's there forever and he's clearly attacking it, so it seems like it's safer on d6. That led me to a move, queen c7, and also because he's playing b3 and got to move the queen. So he doesn't have pass pawn because the d6 pawn is still here. He can sacrifice a pawn and get a pass pawn if he wants to with e5. My dark squares are now weak, so I gotta watch out for a pawn getting to f6 for sure. If f5, that's an interesting move. The idea is to get the pawn to f6. But he can't get it there so easily because my king will munch away on it. He can if his rook is on f1 or his queen is on f2. It's hard to get his rook on f1 with my bishop on this diagonal. So, who's better here? Maybe he is. Alright, well, I'm not going to focus on that. Maybe I should offer a draw. Call it square. Actually, maybe I should play this check. Patzer sees a check, Patzer plays a check. Alright, check. The reason why I'm thinking about doing this is that maybe I want to trade off the light squared bishops. Play, and now it's easier to do that, I think. Okay, rook c8. This is an interesting position because he can play c4 here, but he can't take on c4 because of the pin. So rook c8, if c4, I don't have to move the bishop. But he could move his queen, right? I mean, I can play queen e3 next move. Well, depending upon what he does. If c4, I can play queen e3. What does that do, though? I gotta watch out for losing the a-pawn. Okay, he did that. I think I'm going to defend the a-pawn from the side. I'll probably have to move my bishop next move. Maybe this check wasn't so hot. bishop should go on c6, I think. So queen b6. Queen b6. Yeah, the idea is just to defend the a-pawn from the side. And then play bishop c6. It's interesting. I could try to double, but rook a1. I've played a lot of queen moves. It's time to make a move here. Queen b6. Queen b6. Okay, he can check 2 now. Okay, wait, why am I moving my queen? That's silly. Should I play d5 here? d5, he can check and then take the bishop, I think. No, d5, if he checks, I push d4. That's interesting. But then he could take the bishop if he checks here, so d5, queen b2 check, d4, and gobble gobble, takes the bishop. So d5 can't be played. Yeah, I guess queen b6. What else to do, right? Queen b6. Draw? Alright, I offered him a draw because I don't think I'm any better here. Let's see if he takes it. I guess if he checks now, then I'll just play king g8 or f6, but f6 looks dangerous to me. Oh, he declined it. Okay, cool. He wants to play on. Alright, let's do it, man. See what he does. I'm not convinced, though, that him grabbing all this space is particularly good for him in the endgame because he has a lot of weaknesses in his position. It's just that my pieces seem a little clunky the way they are. Alright, so he did give this check. Oh, I lost the bishop. Wait, didn't I identify that as a problem last move and not deal with it? Is that what I did? I was thinking if I answered d5, and then he checked and played b4, then my bishop hangs, but then I didn't save my bishop. But I guess actually he's better in this position because if I save my bishop, then he takes on a6. Yeah. Alright, so what's going on now? He checked me, and now he's going to take my bishop. Is that what's happening? Looks like it to me. Alright, well that's game over, I think. Because the double attack, check and taking the bishop. So what was the best move last move? It was to move the bishop and hang the a-pawn, but I'm worse. Maybe I could survive with d5 there, but it's not clear to me. So there was something going on back here. So rook c8 wasn't a good move. Because c4 and then checking is a real threat to win the bishop. So I had to do something about that here. Probably I had to do something about it here. So maybe this check wasn't very good. Either way, I think he's slightly better. Anyway, it was a good game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I am ready to resign because I lost my bishop. Alright, good game, man. Okay, hope y'all enjoyed. I'm looking forward to watching his video and to see what his thoughts were during the game. I mean, it was a good game. Just like in the very end, with little time, I made some poor decisions. I didn't identify the main threats. Yeah, so that's chess. That's why I really don't like a 40-10 so much, because there's, you end up in like ready for the end game and there's no time left, and you gotta, just make random moves without really thinking about it. Alright, this is Truxton signing off. Bye.